Hello and welcome back to the Insight on the Ratings. Obviously, the Insight is a tactical part of our podcast and we do it every single week. This is a bit of a bonus episode because there's transfer rumours going around. And this is a big transfer rumour that Napoli are ready to let go of Kvara. As usual, I'm joined by Pythag. Let's start with what has been a really interesting David Ornstein tweet saying that Liverpool might have left the door open for Kvara. We're going to talk about how he tactically fits into the Liverpool team, so stick around for that because I promise you it's going to be worth it. But very quickly, what are your thoughts on this, just off the top of your head?
I think it's good for the world of football that Kvaratskhelia is on the move. I think it would have been nice from a Napoli perspective to see him at least see out the season and get another league title for them before leaving. That's what I would personally like to see. But I do think he's making the move at the right time because I don't think he's got more to prove in Serie A. And I think it'd be really exciting to see him move to a bigger league. But like I said, move to a bigger league. I think moving to PSG would be a mistake for him, and I think it'd also be. I don't think as a footballing neutral it'd be as interesting. It reminds me of someone like Verratti seeing out their whole career there. I think Kvaratskhelia could be one of the world's best left wingers. I don't really want to see him at PSG because they've already got Barcola there. Now Barcola's for me has been one of the most impressive left wingers I've seen in Europe this season. So it makes no tactical sense to me why they need to sign a Kvaratskhelia because he's not suited to playing on the opposite wing. You could put Barcola out on the right, but I think he's a better left winger than a right winger. So this doesn't make any sense to me why this move would be happening.
And that's sort of where I think Liverpool enter the picture because that's what David Ornstein said. He said if Kvaratskhelia is available in January, which it seems like he is, then Liverpool will be interested or could be interested, shall we say. And that's where we come in. Because I think for a lot of fans, they're sort of going, Gakpo and Diaz are playing out there. Where does Kvara fit in? We're going to answer that question too very soon. But for me, the sales pitch I would put forward is that Liverpool are a club that don't often buy the best in class, shall we say, unless they're absolutely available and available to them. So for Liverpool to be sniffing around is already something that's quite interesting. And you know me, I'm a psychology lover. Who did Liverpool buy last summer outside, apart from Chiesa, Pythag?
Mama Dashvili?
Who is very good friends with Kvara. They're from the same country. Could this be a wonderful chess move? Who knows? That maybe I'm stretching the truth a little bit. But let's talk about how he fits into this team because Diaz and Gakpo currently exist. We'll talk about that in a second. How do you think he fits into slot system?
It would only be as a left winger, in my opinion. I mean, you could play Kvaratskhelia as a number 10, but in the way that Slot uses his midfield, he usually wants his three in midfield, and he needs his advanced midfielder in your case a Szoboszlai to really come back, track hard, work back, and almost form that three unit in midfield. Sometimes create a box in midfield. For me, Kvaratskhelia, if he is going to be a 10, it would need to be almost like a free roaming type of 10 who is just a maverick number 10. Just his whole game would be based on a bit like a well, I say Odegaard, but like Odegaard also has a lot of defensive responsibilities that he needs to carry out to a T for Arsenal. Um, Kvaratskhelia would need to be like a throwback number 10, like in a Mourinho type 4-2-3-1, where he's just given license to just wreak havoc. I
But
think it'd be,
do you think Slot would even entertain that type of a player? Or
it's not that Kvaratskhelia isn't hardworking. He's very hardworking for a winger. It's just that the work you need to do as a winger versus the positional discipline you need as a midfielder, it's kind of night and day. As a winger, you're just like coming back in a straight line following your fullback. Whereas when you're say an advanced eight coming back into a midfield unit, the level of IQ you need to show from a defensive point of view and it's the shape you have to constantly keep. It's just a higher level of defensive discipline that's needed. I personally feel like that would take away from Kvaratskhelia a lot in terms of. I just think the balance of the midfield would become wrong. It wouldn't be as balanced as say with a Szoboszlai there. Now, just assuming he does come in as a left winger, Diaz has been brilliant this season. Gakpo's beginning to grow as a player. There's no doubt Kvaratskhelia is on another level, I think, to a Gakpo type player. So you are getting an upgrade. Um, and Diaz has been a player who's been linked with a move away for a number of seasons, I'd say. So it could be a bit of future proofing in that respect. But do you need him right now for this season? No. but it's for the future. It's potentially thinking about, well, when Mo Salah leaves, who's going to be the face of the team, and Kvaratskhelia is that type of player who could be that marquee player of a club, and he's a bit of a cult figure type of player as well.
I think I agree with the Diaz and Gakpo points, and I think we'll come back to them in a second. The Salah point is very key. I think Liverpool will be looking for a new superstar, and Liverpool typically don't have superstars that are typical to football. Liverpool wouldn't have an Mbappe or a Ronaldo or a Messi or a Haaland. Kvaratskhelia being Georgian, I know that's a really left field thing to say, but him being Georgian, not your almost looks a little bit rough around the edges in his appearance. That's a Liverpool player, I think, just on the visuals. And this sort of like some people really think he's one of the best in the world. Some people think he's really not. Again, a very Liverpool sort of signing and type of player. Liverpool don't typically have the best player in the world. They become the best player in the world at Liverpool, or they don't. Let's go quickly rewind a little bit. Do you think, ignoring Diaz and Gakpo, how does he tactically fit into that left-hand side? Because we've spoken previously about how Slot wants his...
So he's basically like, imagine like a Jack Grealish for City. That's exactly how he kind of plays. Like, the difference being that he can also go down the line as well. He's more of a goal threat. I'd say he's more of a consistent creator as well. I'd say a hybrid of like Hazard and Grealish is sort of what Kvaratskhelia is in terms of his style of play. You would obviously, every Liverpool fan's crying out for a brand new left back. So if you get a new left back in who's bombing up and down as well, with Kvaratskhelia, that left flank becomes very sort of elite level. Not that it isn't already. I think it's already a very good level.
How important is the left back here? Because I've always felt with inverted wingers,
Yeah.
and I've watched a fair bit of Kvara, and I actually think he's actually fine as a lone wolf. But I
He
think
can
if you
he,
provide him an overlapper,
he can get away with being a lone wolf. He's good enough to do that. But I think if you're going to unlock him to the next level, give him that support, give him an overlapping support, so then that he can cut in and drive in and be a number 10 as well.
then let's go back to this Diaz and Gakpo point. You made the very good point that Liverpool don't need him right now, but obviously availability. I've always believed Liverpool signed players are available. Gakpo and Diaz are actually phenomenal examples of that. Liverpool went after Diaz because Spurs were involved in a transfer potentially, and Liverpool went after Gakpo because Manchester United were involved in it. It could turn out to be a very similar case here, that Liverpool go for Kvara because he's available. It's not a priority, but a world-class player, potentially, some may argue, being available, do you not think a club should be snapping and making a deal?
Yeah, I guess I'm going to correct myself as well, because I've just thought of another tactical solution, which is obviously if you're playing Luis Diaz up top, you could bring in Kvaratskhelia to start as a left wing, and then Gakpo's on the bench. That's also doable. So I've kind of, while you were just talking, I just thought to myself, wait a minute, this could actually kind of work here. So yeah, Kvaratskhelia off the left, Gakpo and Diaz competing up top, and then Salah on the right. That's a front three that could really, really do some damage. I think that pretty much cements the Premier League if you got that. To be fair.
Yeah.
Off the top of your head, I don't know if you know, did Napoli are they in the Champions League?
Are they in the Champions League?
Yeah,
I'm going to say no.
that's that could really push you in the Champions League as well. Getting someone like him in.
All right.
I've changed
Sounds
my
like,
mind. So in the course of one podcast, I've changed my own mind. I think Liverpool should do it now.
I think you got to praise the presenter for that, eh?
Yeah,
I'll push
yeah,
you into it.
definitely.
Let's quickly talk about some potential other places you could go. I completely agree with the PSG shout. I think it'd be classic PSG to buy someone and that would then stunt the progress of another player, because Bradley Barcola for me has been in the top 3 young players of the season so far. He's been outstanding. There's also Manchester United, haven't been linked, but could potentially be in the market. But for me, the one that screams out is Arsenal.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've always said I think he'd be my number one signing for Arsenal, because he's a definite upgrade on Martinelli. Like, in terms of his IQ, he's on another level. He can press. He's a humble guy. So he'd fit into that Arteta sort of no one's bigger than any other type of mantra. He'd be able to do that sort of possession style football that Arsenal always want. I think he'd be tailor made for them. I think he'd be the upgrade that's needed from the left side.
part of me would argue that his one-man show could be really useful for Arsenal because they don't have these players that are like the superstar quality who go, just give it to me, I'll bend one in top corner. Liverpool have a fair few of those, and so you could argue he suits Liverpool in the same way. But I think Arsenal are actually crying out for this type of character as much as they are the player, because when they give it to Martinelli doesn't want to just take the game by its scruff of his neck, certainly not now, and probably not for the last 12 months. And with that, once Saka's out of the picture, this team no longer has a guy who wants to do that. So I do agree with you. I think Arsenal is a great fit for him. Where else can we go with this? I don't think like Manchester United should be going for him, but they won't. I'm guessing you'd want him at Manchester United, though.
I think he'd be perfect for that left inside forward role. What that would do to Bruno Fernandes, I don't really know, but I'd love to have him there as that left inside forward in the Amorim system. I think it would really work, especially if the left wing back, we got like a Nuno Mendes. If you got a player like that at left wing back, and then you've got Kvara left inside forward, then that would really cook, in my opinion, as a combination down the left.
That's ambitious, though. That's 140 million probably for two players.
United, all we do is spend money and we don't actually do anything with it. So,
fact. I did mention
Chelsea as well. Have
Chelsea,
also been linked, and obviously with Mudryk out with his whatever that drug issue that's going on. I mean, Sancho is quite a similar player in some respects to Kvaratskhelia. But again, you probably argue that he's an upgrade on Sancho. But yeah, I personally find him. Would I go to Chelsea? It's an interesting one. I think it's a good side. It's a good side, but for me, I think Arsenal's probably his best fit. But Liverpool would be a really good short-term option. The only thing I'm slightly worried about with Liverpool is that once the likes of Salah go, there's going to be a lot of responsibility on a player like that to be the face of the next generation. And there's a lot of pressure. Whereas with Arsenal, the squad's quite young. So if he did join a squad like that and be the face of it, he's the face of a team that's got another 4 to 5 years together to grow, is what I would say.
And that comes down to character. I've seen him play for Georgia, and he likes the responsibility. But playing for your country and playing for your club is two very different things. And I think at Napoli in the title-winning season, he shared that responsibility with Osimhen, and I think that suited him really well. So it wasn't a focal point every single time. So I do wonder. But anyway, you guys in the comments, let us know where he fits tactically, where you think he's going to go. And if you want to see more transfer-related tactical videos, then do let us know as well, whether you're watching on Spotify, YouTube, or listening on the podcast. For now, it's good night from us because it's 1 a.m. when we're recording. We'll see you in the next one.